We're live.
Hello all and welcome. Today's marketing tech class is going to cover LinkedIn best practices. There is a lot of what should I be doing? What should I be, where should my profile be present? Why should I do LinkedIn? So we're going to do a quick overview. We're going to go into some of the basics and then a little bit more of the how to really optimize LinkedIn in about 20 minutes, half hour or so. Today, myself, Joe Lowry, and our digital content manager, Shane Dodge, will be presenting some of our topics today. Again, just a reminder to everybody, and Angie knows this and Lance knows this, but we have a very talented team. I am proud to be a part of this team. Everybody has lots of skills, and sometimes we specialize in skills. So just be aware of that. If you have questions, we go through this. Hold your questions till the end, or put them in the chat component. Joe will monitor those. I will monitor those. Shane will monitor those. We'll answer those questions real time. Otherwise, if you want to unmute yourself, we'll do that at the end. So write down your questions, and we'll get to the Q&A at the end. So everyone should be aware of LinkedIn. If you're not, welcome to 2020. LinkedIn is very important. Google is the #1 search engine. YouTube is the 2nd search engine. And LinkedIn is also up there in terms of people searching and looking for content, looking for information. Think of LinkedIn more of as a social platform. However, it's a professional social platform. It's a networking platform. Who wants to network and get more leads? Yeah. Yes, everybody, that's what I want to do. Are you professionals? Yay, me too. So we want to make sure if we're professionals and seeking to work with other professionals, we should be on LinkedIn. All right, we don't have to think of it in too much more detail than that, but it is more networking and professional rather than entertainment. It does have entertainment value. However, you should not be posting selfies on LinkedIn, just FYI. If we see that, that's not as professional as some of your other content. We're going to go into the appropriate content here in a little bit. In addition, LinkedIn hosts 500 million professional profiles all over the world. So this is a great way to connect to professionals, people that have Fortune 500 jobs. They're on LinkedIn. They need to be present on LinkedIn. A recruiting tool, meaning you're not going to, be looking for other businesses or other jobs. Hopefully this is your job and you're going to be a professional forever agent with the Berkshire Hathaway brand. But keep in mind that this is something where you can network with other like-minded professionals. You can find content and data, but making sure you can also connect to your current and past clients. See what they're up to, understand their likes and interests. Just be a little bit more poignant in your conversations with them beyond just real estate. As we say a lot, and Will Cooper, I'll channel my inner Will Cooper. We all have him inside of us in our hearts, making sure that we are building relationships, not just handling transactions. So it's really important to have that professionalism profile. And again, it's not something you have to spend a lot of time on, but we're going to show you the most important. So get another job. Please don't think of it that way. But we also want to make sure that you can make those important business connections. Business people, professionals, they buy houses too. So we want to make sure that they are connected with you and that you have some of those interests, common interests, and you can understand where they're coming from. So with that said, I don't think we need to, belabor why LinkedIn is important. Just 500 million profiles. That's the bottom line. I'm going to turn it over to my buddy, my colleague, and amazing marketer, Shane Dodge. Take it away, Shane.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Yeah, just to jump on to what she was saying, if you're new to real estate or if you've been working in real estate for a relatively short time, something to consider is that LinkedIn is where you can connect with people you've worked in the past at other jobs. And if they had a positive experience with you, then that makes them more likely to use you for their real estate business potentially. I think it's important that you think about anyone you've ever worked with or developed a relationship with, and this is kind of like the place for that. Okay. And on that note, I'm going to click share screen. Let's do this one. Okay. Do we see that? Everyone see everything? Yeah? Okay, cool.
Shane, you got room to make your window bigger though, if you want.
Okay, so I'll just.
Or you can just
like
share yeah, there you go. Or you
Okay.
can also click share again and just share the browser as opposed to your whole desktop. That'll let people see the text better. Yeah, okay, perfect.
Okay. So the first thing I want to go over is, it may seem obvious, but you want to make sure that your profile is completely up to date. And there are a number of things you want to look at. I think there's a lot of little intricacies when it comes to your profile that some people probably don't think of. The first one being your headshot. This might be obvious to some people, but when it comes to a headshot, it needs to be professional, clean, and it needs to be just your head. You don't want like a full body shot. You could be potentially connecting with people from 10, 20 years ago, and they may not recognize you. It's a full body photo. And I pulled up an example here of my good friend Channeline. If she's connecting with someone who may not recognize her name right away, you can't see who that is. You know, you just can't see your face. It's a great photo, don't get me wrong, but that's something to consider, is that you want like a clean headshot, very recognizable, and quite frankly, it's the first impression they're going to have of you when you connect with them. So it needs to be an up-to-date, clean photo, preferably, you know, more recent. I know some agents have photos from 10, 20 years ago, but hey, I mean, some people may know that person better than the one you are at this time. So it's not, just have a clean headshot. Okay?
We will emphasize current headshot. Current headshot. Okay, keep up.
Exactly. Yep. Now, another thing that I've noticed a lot of people don't do, including my friend Channel in here, is they don't have a cover photo. And obviously, the cover photo on LinkedIn is a little different. It's really skinny and narrow, you see here. But that's what you have the marketing department for. If you have an idea for a cover photo, or a nice landscape picture, or a photo of you and some clients or colleagues or real estate, send that over to marketing at BHHS Utah, or submit a custom request form, and we can create you a LinkedIn photo. That's what we're here for. Okay. Now, the second thing is the title here. You don't just have to put real estate agent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Utah Properties. You can edit this title to be whatever you want. It's technically a headline. The position is below it, but this is the headline. So I could put something like President's Circle top 1% realtor, something to that effect, or passionate about real estate, passionate about helping people meet their real estate goals and needs, something to that effect. It doesn't just have to be real estate agent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Utah Properties, because that information is going to be over here to the right. Okay. And then another thing is your public URL. You can edit this to be something besides just LinkedIn/IN/100555544. So if you want to refer people to your LinkedIn, you can change it to be Shane Dodge Real Estate. And to do that, you just click that pencil that was to the right over here, click that, and you can change it to be whatever you want. And that might make it a lot easier for you to refer people to your LinkedIn. And I think that goes a long way when people are looking at your profile. Okay. And another thing, last thing that I think is important, well, there's a couple more, is the about. Just give a quick summary about why you're in real estate, what you do, what's your story. I think that goes a long way. And then below that, you want to make sure that you update where you are right now and your past work history. What did you do before? How did you get to where you are now? Which brokerage are you with? And I think it's important to note that we are Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Utah Properties, not just Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Sometimes people will get a little confused about that. I think just add that Utah Properties there. Our LinkedIn is up and running, so you should be able to find us when you're updating that information. Okay, and that is about it. Joe's going to talk about skills and endorsements later. But I think this is a great way to also bolster up your profile, is just connect with other people you've worked with and get some recommendations and endorsements. But now the main topic at hand is, what do I post on LinkedIn? What do I share? What kind of content should I be posting? And I think it's important to note that you're not going to sell a home on LinkedIn. I've seen some real estate agents put, just listed, you can own this home for $500,000. No one's going to buy a home on LinkedIn. I think it's important to share that you're doing business, and I'll talk about how you can do that in the right way, where it doesn't feel like you're like a used car salesman, I guess. Okay. So relevant LinkedIn content. The first thing that you're going to want to share is industry news and updates. And these are all things that we already share with you guys. So it's just a matter of leveraging what content and information we share with you from Marketing Resource or the emails and posting it there. Okay. So this first one is a deliverable from Beth. Beth sends out an email every week called Beth's Deliverables. And it's, usually 5 or so relevant blogs or news information about real estate or interior design. I usually like to just go through and take a peek at those. Oh, it's not there. Take a peek at those and choose one of my favorites, and I'll post it sometimes on our company page, or you can post it on your LinkedIn too. This one says, home sales and new listings rise in the last month, and Salt Lake City is seen as a millennial favorite. All I did was copy and paste the link that Beth sent, and she literally wrote the caption for you. It took me literally 2 seconds. Super easy. Okay. Industry news and updates. Another thing that could be good for sharing is the newsletter. We provide that for you. All done. Don't even have to do anything. Summer real estate updates, gardening, and more. Check out my June newsletter. Then I've just posted a screenshot of the masthead and a link to the newsletter. Blog posts. Did you know we have a blog on bhhsutah.com? It may not be updated as much as we'd like to, but there's a lot of really good information and news in there. This is one of the more recent blog posts that I created. What does the home buying and selling process look like during COVID-19? All I did, just copy and paste this URL, and then I just wrote a short caption about it. What does the real estate process look like during COVID-19? And then it's just there. You just post it. Okay. And then there are also plenty of other things on Marketing Resource that you can share to LinkedIn. I think it's important to note that there's this LinkedIn link right here. Whenever you're finished with an e-card or a graphic of some sort, there's going to be this LinkedIn link. And all you have to do is click post to LinkedIn, and it'll do it for you. So it's really as simple as a click of a button. It really is. I thought that the stats reports are also a great thing to share. There's a 2019 annual reports. There are plenty of e-cards to choose from. We try to, me and Jamie try to create at least 1 or 2 each month for you guys. Okay, now, I think it's always a good idea to make real estate personal. So anytime you can snap a photo of an accomplishment you did or anything to that effect, that's what LinkedIn is all about. Sharing personal growth and goals and your advancements in your career or something you're proud of. So this is another example of a caption idea I had. You could just hypothetically take a picture of you and your client in front of a home that just went under contract. And my hypothetical caption was, under contract. There were over 10 offers, but we managed to secure this beautiful sugar house bungalow. I love what I do. something to that effect. Okay, and then company updates are another great form of content you can share too. And these are also available on Marketing Resource. On this left-hand menu here, just filter by image, and then owner Utah properties. And we try to create graphics about what's happening with our brokerage and the franchise. One of them being, we were just named the #1 real estate brokerage in the state of Utah by dollar volume. There's a graphic right here that you can share. The one I have on this document here is Real Estate Agency Brand of the Year. That was for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, the franchise. Okay. And then one other thing I think would be useful for you guys is obviously you don't want to share every single occurrence in your real estate career, but you can still share the notable ones or kind of tell a story about it. So there's just sold graphics and just listed graphics. Maybe you could share a just sold image of a listing that went under contract in 3 days and you're really proud of the way that you marketed it. Another idea is post a picture of some brochures that you really like that the marketing department created. The possibilities are endless, but I think it's important to focus on the professional elements about you love what you do and you do real estate without constantly, you know, begging for someone's business. Hey, hire me, hire me. Instead, it's more of, look what I do. I love what I do. Here's relevant information. Keep me in the back of your head. And I think that's everything I have to present, guys.
Thank you, Shane. One of the key concepts I want to make sure that we drive home is marketing. Myself, Shane, our team, we create a lot of content for you so you don't have to make up your own content, all of your own content. Like Shane said, we recommend you make up some of your own so it is personal. However, we want to create this content and have you leverage it for your own benefit. Love what we do is to see you maximize and leverage that content to your benefit and to the benefit of the success of your own business. So we really want to make sure that that's driving home, you know, simple things and connecting with others, liking other articles, commenting on other people's articles, meaning you have a client that is, let's say in the construction industry, they post something, you comment on it, that you actually read it. That's how you engage. That's how you network with professionals. It's not just a bunch of likes and hearts and following. You know, get involved if you have some of that time. Scroll through there once a week. See who else is posting from your industry. Maybe there's another realtor that you really appreciate and respect with our brokerage or otherwise. And you can comment, engage with them as well. So it just kind of shows that professional networking where we aren't in person as much as we used to be. We're not going out to dinners and cocktail parties and events as much right now. So this is a way to still be engaged and have that networking capability beyond, you know, Instagram posts. So think of it that way. So Joe, let's move forward into kind of thinking about how to really maximize your profile and solidify kind of that professionalism on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. So I think one of the big things that Shane touched on that's really, really important is the fact that LinkedIn's a social network, but it's also a professional social network. And anytime that you're talking about a professional social network, one of the things that you've got to sort of realize or embrace yourself for is that LinkedIn is all about connecting with people who are basically trying to figure out what you can do for them and what they can do for you. So it's this really kind of interesting dichotomy because in one sense, you want to make sure that you're the person that's out there reaching out and making connections and trying to make sure that you manage the people that are trying to reach for you. But on the other hand, there's actually a lot of unsolicited contact that comes via LinkedIn. One of the things that is part of the LinkedIn business model is that they sell how many, like for example, my title is CTO and I belong to several technology groups. And in those technology groups, LinkedIn will go to a company who wants to market to technology groups and say things like, hey, we've got, you know, 400 CTOs on the Wasatch Front, and for X many dollars, we'll allow you to put a message to all of those CTOs. And so down here on the right-hand side, you can see it on my messaging. anytime that you see something that says sponsored, that's what that is. It's a paid message that comes into your inbox. And you can see right now, it's like they're inviting me to the virtual exchange summit on July 22nd. They basically can put this kind of little sales email together where you can register and go back and forth. And so when you're making your connections, one of the things you have to realize is sometimes you're going to connect with somebody that is not necessarily looking out for your best interest. They're just trying to, I call it LinkedIn collecting. They're just trying to collect contacts, right? If you remember when you first got on social media and you got your first like 5 or 6 friends, you're like, this is really cool. And one of the things that social media did really well, in particular Facebook, was they started to say, tell us what your contact list is, give us your address book on your computer, and we'll message everybody on Facebook and tell them that you're on Facebook too, so you can instantly start to get a lot of friends. And sometimes collectors in the business world are just trying to say, hey, I want 10,000 connections, and they're just trying to connect with people that have nothing to do with their business. You've never worked together. You've never had any really experiences together. And so kind of watch that on your network. And you can go ahead and weed people out if you want to sort of disconnect if you want, but don't be surprised if when you get on LinkedIn, there's going to be a lot of connection requests that come through. And so let's kind of talk about how your profile and what the value of your profile on LinkedIn and what contributes to that value going up. So the first thing that you're probably going to want to do on your profile, which is just clicking on your profile page, it comes down here, and as it loads up, it kind of gives you like kind of like Facebook, it gives you like a dashboard or something like that as you go down. You can list all of your experience that Shane kind of covered. You go down here, and this is what we're going to talk about right here is skills and endorsements. So you can add a skill, right? So let's say that you've been a realtor your whole life and you're not quite sure what kind of skills that might include. One of the easiest ones right off the bat is sales, right? So you can add sales as one of these skills. The other things that you can do, and apparently I've reached my max of skills. I am so skillful that LinkedIn will not let me add any more skills. Other people that you know can also add skills to your profile. So they can say things like, hey, Jamie is our Senior VP of Marketing, but she's also an amazing project manager. So I could connect with Jamie and I could write for Jamie that she has that skill. And then you'll get a little email and you can accept that and away you go. So skills are important. Kind of think in terms of a general sense, right? You want to add skills like if you know how to run dot loop, well, that's that's digital transaction management, right? There's sort of like phrases and things that you can use when you want to get in there. So make sure that you have that. And then LinkedIn actually built this little quiz, which is kind of neat. So you can actually take the skills quiz and it goes down the line and it basically says, do you know any about any of these things? And you go ahead and you take that quiz. And then after that, it'll make suggestions for you. It'll say, well, it sounds like, that Brad, you've got a lot of skill, in terms of face-to-face sales, or you've got a lot of skill with something else. And that's how you can kind of put all those things together and just run that quiz if you choose to. Below that, we have endorsements, okay? Endorsements are people who have worked with you. So when you connect to somebody on LinkedIn, it will ask you, what is your relationship? So if Shane and I connected, it'll say, how do you know Shane? And then it'll say, I've worked with Shane. And then it'll list what company, which is why what Shane covered in terms of putting in your work experience is so important. Because if Shane and I work somewhere that's not Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Utah Properties, it's going to ask, well, then how do you know? And then you could say, I worked along with Shane, we both sold cotton candy together, 5 years ago or something. But whatever that is, it actually asks you what your relationship is. And then what happens is it understands that Shane now understands something about you and your work ethic. And so Shane has the ability now to say, man, Joe really knows how to make cotton candy, and he can make that endorsement for me. So what you're seeing here on my screen are the people that I have worked with that have reached out and endorsed some of these skills of mine that are in there. The more endorsements that you have that are related to the skills that we just covered, the higher your profile is viewed in terms of its ability to be legitimate on LinkedIn. So you can go down here and you can see there's show more. And it's very much like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type scenario. So if you work with somebody who's got a lot of skill in a particular area and they endorse you, then the sort of best practices protocol is to make sure that you endorse them. So now let's go back to about 8 minutes when I said be careful who you connect with. If you're getting endorsements from people you've never worked with or you don't know, you don't want to give away your endorsement to somebody that you don't have any real experience with. And so that's why limiting your contacts to people who actually have worked with you or you've worked with will allow your profile to be seen as a higher value. But you can see as you go through here, there's all this different, industry knowledge and other things that I've got in there. And then just below that, we have something that's kind of a bump up from endorsements. So an endorsement is almost like a like from your social media post. So you put something out there, it doesn't take a lot of effort for someone to just go, I like that, right? They don't write a comment, they don't have to like engage with you, they just have to do a little mouse click. On the endorsement side, it's very similar. It's very easy to endorse somebody, in particular if you're what's called a first level connection. So what you do is you can then connect and you can make endorsements. They're very quick and they're very easy. But then there's recommendations. So recommendation is actually when somebody wants to write something about you and your skills and your abilities. And you can see here that I've got some recommendations that are out there. People have written people that I've worked with or other types of scenarios. But I also want to point out that as part of my being a good citizen on LinkedIn, I've also given a lot of recommendations. And so you can kind of see like how I've done that for people that have worked for me or I've worked with in the past. And so I'm very happy to go through and write little comments about them. And I make sure that these endorsements are all very, very personal, because a generic endorsement is not really serving this person very much, but it's also not really helping you very much because you're essentially exchanging at a very shallow level. So the more that you engage in your endorsements and your skills and your recommendations, make sure that you're taking some time to put them together so that when somebody reads that, for example, my friend Michael Seeley there at the top, I worked with Michael for 8+ years, and at the time, when he was looking for something else, I wanted to make sure that he could add my endorsement on his resume, and I wanted to make sure that it was very detailed in terms of what his skills were and how much I trusted him in the role that he played for me in the company that we worked at. And so if you're going to do a recommendation, just make sure that you take the time to actually build it out so that it's meaningful, as opposed to something like really, kind of quick and easy. You can sit there and just say, Jamie is cool. Not really helpful in terms of, Jamie's going forward and her ability to present her digital profile up online. So again, to kind of go back to what Shane was saying, make sure that you've got your work experience in there, because your work experience will allow you to connect with other people, and your skills, endorsements, and recommendations will all trigger off of your first level connections, which are people that you've worked with. And so let's go take a look at connections real quick. I'll go to my network here. So on my network, hey, it's Todd. Let's make sure we say hi to Todd. When you come in here and you look at these connections, these are all people that you can actually make sure that you know and that you have something to say about, right? It's not a horrible thing to connect with people that you don't know, but as soon as I click accept, what happens is when I go to Todd, our connection level, you see right here, says first. That's a first level connection, meaning Todd and I know each other. He requested to connect with me. I requested to connect with him. And so now we have a first level connection. In your network and on your connection requests, you'll see a lot of things that are second level, third level, fourth level. And all of those things mean that you don't know them, but they know someone you know. So again, the power of social media is not so much making sure that you and your friends are all in your own little social bubble, but it's all about you. There are people out there that are looking for a home or looking for real estate knowledge that know your friends, they know your first level connections, but you don't know them. And so this allows you to kind of see where you rank in terms of the relationships that you have with your connections. And so making sure that you do that and you engage in them, away you go. See this one right here, so Sandra was suggested to me. I don't know Sandra, but right below that, you can see that she knows people that are in my network. She knows people that, that are attached somehow to Berkshire Hathaway or some of the other companies that I've worked for. So when you go through, you'll see a lot of stuff like this. I don't know Ashcan. I don't know any of these people that are part of this. And they're just kind of blasting out. They're doing that LinkedIn collection move where they're just trying to grab connections because maybe one day they want to do some marketing or they want to try to get me to buy something. And so the more that you've identified yourself as a real estate professional and the more that you've engaged in other groups and making your posts that have relevant information, the more that you'll be looked at from other people who don't know you, but then someone that does know you and they're a second or third level connection they'll reach out and they go, well, if Shane knows him, I'll probably feel okay reaching out and say, hey, Joe, I know Shane Dodge. I hear you can make really good cotton candy, or whatever it is that you decide to go ahead and put out there.
Well, and then you learn new things about people, like Shane and Joe can do an amazing cotton candy business. I didn't know that till today.
Yeah, we just invented that, as a matter of fact. Our whole history has been retrofitted to our magic cotton candy stand. And so the other thing I want to talk about really quick is groups. When you join a group on LinkedIn, there are a lot of groups that have been set up that are essentially kind of like an ego stroke for somebody. So they might set up a group that's like real estate professionals of the eastern side of the I-15, but not south of Draper. They get real specific about the little group that they create. You can find your groups by going to your home page and then coming down below here and just say discover more, okay? So when you discover more, there's hashtags and there's groups. And so if you look, it'll actually start making suggestions based on your experience, based on your skills, based on your endorsements, and it'll start putting up these people that maybe you should follow, or they'll also put in pages and other types of groups that are trending. So this is a good example. There are people that I'm connected to that are first level connections, and these are the pages or groups or hashtags, whatever that you want to call them, that they're following. So they're saying you should follow those as well. And the more of these that you follow, that's great. But the problem when you do that is that if you're not engaging in those groups, if you're not making comments on other people's posts, if you're not saying, hey, I actually know something about that, then you're sort of kind of a lurker. You're just kind of off to the side and you're not really contributing much to the group. So your profile says that you belong to the group, but without actually engaging in those levels, again, the value of your total profile does not rise as high as if you were to kind of do that. So what are the dangers of following too many groups? Well, like everyone else, we all have a fixed amount of time during the day. And if we're already doing our real estate business, our marketing plan, we're out trying to add to our SOI, we've got transactions we have to manage, we're going through the process of making sure that our social media on Facebook and Instagram and all these other places is up to date and relevant. We're out there making sure our headshots are current. All of these pieces of your life that are going on, not to mention you got a significant other, you got kids, you got pets, you got all these other things that are taking your time. If you go out here and quickly follow like 25 groups and you don't actually read those posts, you don't comment on those posts, you don't try to engage or meet other people within that same group, it doesn't really bode well in terms of your membership there. And so you basically have that connection where you've got a ton of these groups that are part of your profile, but you haven't really been of any value to those groups. And then sometimes, depending on the quality of the group manager, sometimes they'll actually go through and they'll purge members. They'll say, you know, you've been a member of our group for 18 months, you haven't made a single comment or brought anyone else into the group. We're not really sure that, you know, the value is there. So think through in terms of the amount of time that you have and where you want to spend that valuable time, and then select the groups that you think you can contribute to. And again, Jamie and I are fond of saying real estate adjacent, right? You don't always have to do a post that specifically asks somebody if they know someone or if they're ready to buy or sell real estate. A lot of times you can be making posts that have to do with market conditions. One of the things that's beautiful about this digital age that we live in particular with things like sales meeting, is that the amount of information that comes in on things like mortgage rates. Think about how cool it is when Lance talks about the downtown development. I mean, he's done 2 updates over the last 6 months, both of which have been incredibly, you know, educational in terms of what's being built downtown Salt Lake City. And so those are things that you can then contribute to your group because that's information that you've received. And so think through that as you're thinking about who to follow, what hashtags to follow, what groups to be a part of. All in all, just like anything else, the goal of this platform is to be as authentic, a digital authentic version of you, right? So the skills that you actually could stand up and talk with somebody about, that things that you know about, the people that you actually worked with that you could endorse and they can endorse you, the recommendations that you'd be willing to write or the recommendations you'd be willing to ask for. All of those things matter because what you want to do is present yourself in the most authentic light. And the great thing about what we do for a living here is that we help people through one of the more challenging transactions of their lifetime, right? The real estate transaction is not simple. I mean, that list of forms that Kevin, the Kevins and Craig and Will always put on the table, I mean, imagine trying to interpret that if you don't have any real estate experience. And so people are always looking to say, will you please help me understand what this means? Or yesterday I read an article that said that mortgage rates are in the historic lows, for the country. What does that mean? What does that mean? How does my particular financial situation, should I do a refi? And if you're a member of the groups where people know that you can deliver that honest and straightforward information, then they're going to be even more excited to ask you more questions, which of course always leads to a conversation. I think Shane hit it on the head early on when he said, you don't sell a house on LinkedIn, but you do connect to people who end up buying and selling houses. And so make sure that your profile looks the way you want it to look. Make sure you've added the experiences and the work history that are relevant. Go ahead and take the time to put the skills in. We're all horrible at this, right? It's like writing your bio. It's like writing your own, work history, all that stuff. We're all terrible at talking about ourselves. So if you're having trouble, if you're stuck with that, ask a significant other, ask a family member and say, look, I'm trying to come up with something that doesn't make me, sound like a pompous, arrogant person, but at the same time, I don't want to make it seem like I've been kind of coasting through life as a mid-level performer, right? And so all of those things are kind of going on. Anyhow, yeah, so Todd just recommended me while we're right here on the webinar. So yeah, Todd, I'll write you a recommendation. Best tattoo artist ever. So all of those things kind of combined is what's going to let your profile rise in terms of its overall value. And at the same time, make sure that you're not presenting the one side of yourself that if someone were to meet you at a party or another gathering and they were actually to meet and talk with you, that they go, that profile is nothing like that person I met, right? So make sure that that continuity of who you are and how you present yourself digitally is always the same, because the objective is to eventually get a meeting with somebody and then actually help them go through a real estate transaction. So that's what I got, Jamie.
You got it, Joe. Authenticity is very important. I also highly recommend, let's say you have a referral, one of your clients who loves you, refers you, you don't know this other person yet. Maybe you search them on LinkedIn, you find their profile, you find some of their interests. Maybe you have some common interests, and what a great way to break the ice and start conversations and kind of just have that relationship already queued up to talk about University of Utah, to talk about Salesforce with Joe, to talk about some of these elements. As you guys know, I also lead our nonprofit division. I'm a huge fan of making sure that we're communicating to the public that we're giving back. So definitely think about who you'd connect with on the nonprofit side, if it's the National Ability Center, or if it's the Utah Food Bank, or if it's the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Think of how you can contribute to that and comment on those stories. Like Joe said, don't just be a follower because you think it's gonna look good, but actually contribute and make comments on their posts. And, National Ability Center, the Summit Challenge bike ride that's always in August is not happening this year, but maybe you can say something to the effect of what an amazing event this has been. I look forward to the next one. National Ability Center is amazing. So just certain things like that can go a long way with your authenticity, of course, if it is authentic. So anyway, the bottom line with LinkedIn is do it. You need to be there. And there's all sorts of ways you can go down rabbit holes and get sucked in, but think first of having a profile, making sure it's updated, and leveraging the content that we're already providing you. With that being said, we're going to sign off this recording and we will do a Q&A.